and welcome to Engraved. During the years I have created different items with the Metalwriting secret. One of my earliest inventions are the Eye of Odin, which I've got great response from. But the problem with the Eye of Odin has been that some people loved it and loved the Norse theme of it, but other people think that it doesn't fit their style, perhaps, or they perhaps wanted to have an ordinary object. I hope that Engraved will fill up that request from the magic community because it's so versatile. For example, you can use it as a pendulum or a necklace or a keyring. You can also use it as a pocket watch or a compass or perhaps a pendant. With all the pictures included, the possibilities are endless, and I hope that you will have really fun with it because I have had that. Thank you very much. This is what you get when you open up your box. There are several plastic bags containing different items, and I have structured it up here on the table for you. You have one bag that contains the amulet, and on the back side there is the silvery surface in which you will make the engraving. You also get an additional disc for the engraving, and a chain which has a lobster clasp attached to it here. This one you can put on the amulet like this. You also have a keychain with a lobster clasp, and you got a black ferrite magnet, and this one we use in the handle, and also a thin neodymium magnet which you can use to make up your own boards for perhaps larger shows. Then you got some different pictures for changing the picture inside the amulet here. And you got a clipboard. It's this clip you use to fasten up some papers on, and this is also a whiteboard surface on the side here. You got this pencil, which is the tool for engraving, and also the pencil that you can write on. On the one end you have an engraving tip, and on the other end you have a ballpoint pen. And there is a little protection dot here which are attached there to prevent the ink from drying out. Then you get another bag containing the reset equipment for doing the Metalwriting reset. There you will have this torch, which we call the reset pen. You get this tool, which we call a holder. It's for holding the disc during the reset. You get aluminum plate, which we call the cooler, and this one is for cooling down the surface when the reset is done. You get this material, which we call Silvex, and this is the reset material that is attached on the surface of the discs. Then you have this little plastic bag with the playing card and a magnet. This is used to take away the disc from the amulet when you're doing the reset. And you also have this little pin, and in the amulet there is a hole which you can take the pin, push it into, and in that way you can change the picture in the amulet. Take away this disc here. When you buy Engraved, you get 2 discs. If you want to have additional discs, then you just contact me. Every disc are numbered with a number 1, 2 or 3, which tells me which size the disc are made in. And the same is with the amulet. When you take the picture out, you will see that there is a number stamped inside, and that number is the number that I have to know. So if you order more discs, just tell me that I need 3 discs of the number 2, then I know the size. You can also buy additional Silvex if you need to perform it often. This piece will last for about 150 shows that you have in this original pack. This is how the Metalwriting works. The material on the disc here we call Silvex is a softer material, and in this you can engrave anything. It's almost like writing, and you use the tip on the pencil here to do the engraving. And the material, the engraving in the disc is that deep, so you can feel that there is an engraving, and in that way you can hand it to the spectator to feel. You can't hand it out freely, but you can. They can touch the surface, and they will feel that it is a cold surface, and they can't see the difference in between metal and cell wax. In the board there is a magnet attached here, and on this magnet there's a magnet as well in the amulet. You can attach the amulet to the board like this. If you are using a whiteboard, then of course you can write on the whiteboard surface, but you can also take some pieces of paper and attach with a clip like this. Now you can take your amulet and have it hanging here. So now I can write, just peel off the dot, I can write with my pencil here, turn the pencil around and engrave here on the surface. When you instead have the chain attached to the amulet, it's of course the same. You can put the amulet here, but you don't want the chain to hang down, or you must control the chain somewhere. And for that reason you can use the black ferrite magnet. Then you bounce up the magnetic chain on the magnet, and now it hangs as the keyring did down here. So now when it's time for you to detach this from here, it's very easy. In your hand, just drop it, and then you have the whole bunch of it here, so you don't have to control the chain. The magnet does it for you. Another way to use the chain is to do this. You have the amulet here, and then you take the chain around the paper and attach the chain on the other side, because there is the magnet as well. Now you take another piece of paper, and I have cut those pieces on the front a little bit shorter than this one, so this will conceal everything here. Now I can clip those on like this, and here I have a pad that is totally shielding the extra chain. So now I can engrave here, and when it's time for me to release this, I just drop the chain in my hand, drop the amulet in my hand, and in this way I can just do the revelation. So that's another way to attach the amulet to the pad. In this setup you can show the amulet in the beginning of the routine, or you can have it in full view all the time. The first thing you do is to detach the disc like this, and you use only the disc on the board. But before, because you will load this onto the amulet, and now you need to orient it so the engraving will be right. So on the back you take a Sharpie and draw a black line on the top of the disc like this. So now when you put it on your board, you put the black line upwards, so you have it oriented there. Now you can do your writing and do your engraving on the disc, and then you palm off the disc in your hand and load it to the amulet that are in view like this. When it's time for the engraving, you place the amulet on the clipboard, and you have your pencil. So you perhaps call out for numbers and you write down numbers, then you turn the pencil in your hand, and you can do this secretly behind it, or you can do it in a motion. So you turn it so you get the engraving point in front instead. And when you have placed the amulet on the clipboard, you need to secure the amulet while you're engraving. It's quite firm in the magnet, but still it's better to put your thumb on on the edge, and then you can write with the engraving tip. Now, when you're writing in Silvex, there will be some cut-offs from the surface, and that's why it's a real engraving as well. And those cut-offs, the flings, you need to remove from the surface. You remove it. The easiest way to remove it is with the thumb, when you gently brush away the flings. If you try to push it, to put your nail to get away the flings, then you will scratch the surface. So I'll write something more here, perhaps a number 8. There are some flings. I brush with my thumb, and I got the flings to fall off. Another idea sometimes, when I see that there's a really nasty fling that won't go off, I could take the tip and remove the fling with the tip. It's much better than using the nail, because I think you will scratch the surface in that case. Then, of course, the handling of the pencil, you could have a lighter pressure, and then you will have a not so deep impression or engraving, and then there are smaller flings, of course, and if you push really hard, you will get really tough flings to brush away. So that's something of the handling that you have to build up your skill with, how to engrave and make it look nice. In the second method, you only have placed the disc on the pad, and now it's quite easy to engrave, because the disc is attached to the magnet, and I can engrave without putting my thumb on the disc. But beware, if you have a lot of sheets of paper here, the magnet will lose its power to the disc. So with a lot of piece of paper, perhaps will move. So if you have perhaps 8 papers, then you should secure the disc with your thumb. When you do the engravings, it's of course important that you make the engraving look nice, and the most important thing is that it should be clean and no Silvex flings. But then, of course, you can change the appearance of the engraving. And first of all, there are different kinds of engraving in the real world. There are laser engravings, and there are stampings, and there are also engraving made by an engraving tool. And the engraving tool is a small rotating pin that will remove material from the surface, almost like this method. So what you will get here is that kind of engraving. Well, of course, there are laser engravings. This is not the method for a laser engraving, so this will be the old engraving method that you have seen in perhaps artifacts or in rings or whatever. When I started to learn this, my handwriting wasn't the nicest one. So I took a font that I like on my computer, and then I print the alphabet, and I print some sentence and my name and stuff. And then I start to practice to get that writing that I want to have. So right now I have 3 fonts, or 3 ways to engrave. It could be with swirly letters, there could be block letters, and more traditional letters, depending on which effect that I want to give to the audience. And I think that practicing this is so important. Practice to do the tougher engravings, the lighter engravings, and make sure that the best part is to get the engraving to look nice, no flings, very clean. When you have made your engraving, it's time to palm off the amulet from the pad. And if you're working with this method where you have something that are hanging here, it's important that this part won't get into the surface and scratch the surface. So for this reason, I used to have the keyring or the ferrite magnet hanging on this side. So if I'm right-handed and I have been writing here, I have the keyring hanging to the right side. Then I will take my right hand and place it above the amulet and slide this off the side. Now I have my fingers here, so I can control the keyring so it's on top of the amulet, and in this case it won't scratch the surface. Now, thanks to the magnet inside, it will stay there, attached there. So I can hand this quite freely without the risk of having it ruin the surface. The same way, if you do it on the other way, if you have this one, see, to the left, and you do this palming here, you will get this on the underneath side, and it will stays to the magnet, and it will scratch the surface. So for me, this is very important. Where is the chain while I'm writing? And I'm right-handed, so I have it at the right side. Now I can control it with my fingers, and it will stick to the top. So this is the method. I have it hanging here. I take it in my hand, turn it over, show this, and now I'm finger palming it and drop the hand. When you have the necklace chain attached to the amulet, of course you can use the ferrite magnet to bounce up the chain, and in that way it's the same as using the keyring. You have it to the right and you just palm it off. If you're using this method, where you're concealing the chain with the papers on the back, you control the chain by first put your hand inside here and drop the chain in your hand. Then you, with your thumb, you will just slide off the amulet, and in that way the chain will end up underneath the amulet as well. So you will have it controlled under the amulet, and now you can reveal it from a bag or something. And it's the same here. Thanks to the magnet, it's attached to the front side, and you could really easy control this part without without that it falls out from your hand and showing a shiny chain. I think the people will notice that one. When you use the second method and palming off, there are two ways, and I prefer to do this method. I have it attached here. I take my hand and place it over the disc, then I will slide it off, and in the same motion showing the audience the pad. So it's like this. I have it here, sliding off, showing the pad. Now I have the disc in a finger palm position, and I can also secretly from behind, when I'm showing the audience, see the orientation of the engraving thanks to the markings. If you use another method, that you just push this off with your thumb into your hand, you must turn this over. So in this method, you can push it with your thumb, place it on your fingers, and turn it over, so you get it here. So if you don't want to do the showing the audience move, then perhaps you do this move and turning it over. So there are two moves for palming this off. In this, the first method, you have the amulet concealed through the whole presentation, and you have to reveal it from something. So I palm this amulet off the pad, and then I could have a bag which I pretend to just bring it out from. This is one way. Another way is, of course, to have it in your pocket, or pretend that you have it in your pocket. Especially good when it's a keyring. So I have this the keyring here. Or you could use a box, and this is the box from the Eye of Odin, which we sold, and it has a hole in the bottom, but also a wrapper effect. But you can use any box and cut out a hole in the bottom as well. Then you can just put it over your hand and pretend to take it out from the box through the hole. And there is a good reason to have this concealed in the beginning as well, because you have the picture here, and this could as well be a part of the magic experience. It could be a picture of something that you have forced, and for that reason you can't show it in the beginning. So with this method you have perhaps two revelations, both the picture and then the kicker engraving at the end. With the second method, you can have the amulet in full view all the time, and you can also attach perhaps bigger items to it, like this car key. It's important though to not let it turn around, because then you will see the black surface here, which is a black cloth. But this method, there are two things to be aware of. That's why it's also a little bit more difficult. First of all, you have to keep track of the orientation of the black line. So I attach it here. Then when it's time to palm it off, I need to secretly look and see how the direction of the line is. Perhaps I have to turn it over. Perhaps I can just aim when I'm going with the amulet here to get it aligned with the top of the amulet. The second struggle here is to conceal the sound, because there could be like a very clicky sound if I attach it too hard, and I prefer to just put it here and slide it on it. Then you can conceal the sound in your hand, and the cloth also helps to prevent the sound to be too high. You can also conceal the sound by using this tool, because this has a sound itself. So if I have perhaps the keys here and I just take the keys, the sound of handling them will conceal the sound of attaching the disc to the amulet. For more than 4 years I've been experimenting with Metalwriting and how to get the best effect of the presentation. And I've categorized this into 4 steps. And the first one is the premise. The second is the audience projection. And the third is the wording that you use. And the fourth is audience control. This is a very strong effect when you get an engraving in a surface, and it's easy for the audience to say that, well, that must be a setup, it's a stooge, because that's the first explanation they will have. So to prevent this, it's important that you make the promise so strong that they will avoid that explanation. And one way is to do a random selection of the spectator, and the other way is to make a story that are so intriguing and interesting, so they not question the result of it. So a really strong story that leads into this revelation. When it's time for the audience projection, you have perhaps 2 situations. Either you're working in close-up, and then it's quite easy to show perhaps everyone the engraving, you get a reaction for that. But on stage you can't show the audience the real engraving, perhaps only the first row. And for that reason you have a spectator on stage who will project the magic reaction to the audience. And now it's so important that this person can react on what you're saying, and because the audience are reading that reaction. And the prop isn't this one, the prop is this big person behind you, or besides you. So the wording I will use to my spectator, we think that spectator is next to me here, is this. So you can see that there is an engraving in the metal. Can you take your finger and feel with your finger on the surface and feel that it is in fact a real engraving? Can you read out loud what's engraved into the metal? And then these three phases are important, because I only have this spectator to emphasize that there is a magic appearance here. The audience can't see this little amulet. So I want to make a strong reaction from this spectator to project to the audience, and in that way also build suspense. So when they are allowed to understand the magic, they can react with applause or whatever they want. So the first step, when I said, can you see that there is an engraving? The spectator here will also read, but in their mind, because you can't see a word without reading it. So they will read the word, and they will react on the magic that just have appeared to them. So you get the first reaction here. The second reaction, I said, can you take a finger and feel with your finger over the surface and feel that it is in fact a real engraving? And they will. When they take their finger and touch the surface, you get the second reaction, because they get a touch of it and emphasize that this is for real, it's not written. Now you have, for 2 times, build the suspense for the audience. They have seen 2 times a reaction from the spectator. Now it's time for them to be a part of it. So I said, can you read out loud what's engraved into the metal? And then of course they will read out whatever have been engraved, and that's the cue for them to be a part of the magic and applause or react on that. In my handling, I always let the spectator touch the surface, which could sound like a risky move to do, but it isn't if you have the right attitude to the products and to the spectator. First of all, if you can't hand this out freely, because they will put a nail into the surface, and they're doing this because their thought is like this: that's a real miracle. It's not a setup. Is the surface solid? Is it soft or is it hard? They will think that thought if you get them the option to think it. If you are preventing them to think that thought, they will never go to question the material. They will start perhaps thinking otherwise or just see a miracle. But if you let them have it freely, they will put the nail into it. So to prevent this, I will after I said, can you see that there is an engraving, I will say, can you take your finger and feel over the surface? And I will show this way. I will take my finger and I will touch the surface like this, and they will mimic my movement. So they will take their finger and touch the surface that way. After that, I will remove the amulet from the person, and then I will say, can you read out loud what's engraved? And then they are reading out loud, and once again I can remove it. I can show it for the first draw, I can do anything, but I am in control. But the situation is that this person have been touching everything. So for the audience, this person have confirmed the material. And if I see that they are like digging the eagle claw into my amulet, I can just remove it, because I'm in control all the time. But they won't. They won't do this in the first time, because I give them quite straight instructions how to handle it. So there are no time for them to think by themselves. They have 3 easy tasks, and they will follow them. And after that I can say, thank you very much, go off stage. When you feel the Silvex, you will feel that it is colder than your finger, of 2 reasons. The first reason is that you are a warm-blooded creature, so your finger are warm. And the second one is that the amulet itself is also made out of metal, so it will the Silvex will be cooled down and feels exactly like the metal. It's cold. And it's important to know that in this situation, when the audience had to feel it, they can't feel anything else than a metal surface. It's cold, and they are just touching with the finger. So take this advantage to let them touch the surface, and I think it's well worth the, in my opinion, no risk to do it. During the years I found and make different kinds of boards, clipboards and blackboards to conceal the engraving. And the first one I made was this blackboard, which I used in a lot of products, both Iovodium, the Gamma Bankastrom and the Trophy. And for some presentation, perhaps a chalk and a blackboard is the most organic presentation. And of course you could take any blackboard and drill out and make a magnet. And of course you can contact me and then you can buy a blackboard and also a special tip for the chalk, so you can do the engraving with the chalk using the same principle as the pencil. You turn it around. In some performance I found that I didn't want to use the blackboard. It wasn't fitting the situation, so I constructed this a spiral bound pad instead, and it is basically the blackboard, but there are drilled holes and a spiral and paper. And the nice part of this is that this one can conceal the amulet this way, and no one can tell which side are the front or the back. So I can go on stage showing that I have my board, and then I say I will write down prediction here, and now I'm set to go for the engraving. And this idea, I think it's a little bit complicated to construct, so I wanted to find a way that you guys also can make the clipboard for yourself. So this clipboard that I made, it's not for sale because it's so much work to drill all the holes and put the spiral around here, and I won't do it. Perhaps if you're a really good friend then, but otherwise not. So this is my solution for you. I have provided you with a small neodymium magnet, 15 millimeters in diameter. This one you can attach to a normal spiral bound pad. I have glued these two plastic sheets together, so I got it a little bit stronger here, and that's important. You need the strong surface when you are doing the engraving. And then I just attach the magnet on this place here, and now I have the spiral bound board that you can use. It's important though to say that this magnet, it's not that strong, so you can only use the second method, that you could put the disc to this amulet. You can't have the whole amulet attached here and think that it will stay there, because it won't. In my boards that I made, I have a much thicker and stronger magnet that could hold all my products, even the Iovodium. But for you, you can just attach the disc here, and I think you will like that possibility as well. Another option you can have is to use a clipboard, and on this clipboard I have attached the magnet here, and I covered it with a black piece of cloth. In that way I don't think that you need to remove this sheet. You can have more than one sheet, of course, of paper, but I like the fact that this is concealed and it's black. So this works the same way as the spiral bound. I have my paper here. I can take the disc and attach it here. You can have additional papers on top, just clip them off if I want. And it's very easy to palm off the disc from this setting as well. This product is it's brand new. It's have just been made in a few sets right now, and it's a whiteboard that have 4 magnets inside. And you're writing a longer message or a number, you start perhaps here and you end here. Then there will be some problem with the angles. If you start right here, you should end writing here, and if you are engraving working like this, the audience might notice that there is something fishing with your arm. So if you can instead move the amulet to different parts when you're writing and engraving, you will have the right position for your arm while you are engraving. So this one works also with all my product, and if you like to have it for a bigger set, then you can just contact me and I can make this one to you. It also comes with the whiteboard tip that I will talk a little bit later on. When it's time for the metal writing, it's important to get the time so you don't feel guilty and stressed when you're doing the engraving. Because if you feel stressed, you probably will make a lousy engraving. So I think it's important that you feel comfortable when you are doing this, and that the audience won't suspect that you are doing something strange behind your pad. We have 6 different methods for getting the time. The first one is the Koran original method. The second is the pre-written message. The third is the pre-printed information. And the fourth is a force. The fifth is adding information. And the sixth is informative instructions. Koran created the golden medallion, and it was based on the method that he had a sticker on an amulet, and then he called out for numbers from the audience, and he said, could you say a number? And they said number 7. He wrote down number 7 on the pad, and in the same time he also wrote down number 7 on the sticker on the amulet. This method could be used with metal writing as well, using the pencil that you turn around. This is limited to numbers and letters. You can't have a whole name and write that down and then write the name down, because there is not the time. It looks fishy for the audience when you're writing a longer name. But if you're perhaps taking a car registration number, a PIN code, a year, or random letters to creating a name, then perhaps this method is a fast and reliable method to use. If you are doing a more intimate setting, there are perhaps a few persons. It could be a seance, or it could be a reading, or something that could be more personalized. You can use the method of pre-written information, pre-written messages. So I had perhaps got a name, or I got a feeling, or something that builds strength into them, and I will engrave that information. And I will say to them, alright, I will make a smaller reading for you, and I want you to bring it home, read it tonight when you feel that you are sad or something. So I think this is the right one for you. And I have already written the message, so I get all the time in the world to do the engraving. And in this case it could be a longer engraving, perhaps more than 1 word. It could be 3 words, 4 words, anything, because I get plenty of time. Then when I'm finished, I will of course palm off the amulet, fold this up, clip off the piece of paper and hand it to the spectator. And in this case, if they read it, it's like you're an intuitive person that should listen more to your first impressions. Then you can find more balance in your life, and you feel that you made the right decisions. Well, that's basically a reading, but could mean something for them, and I have all the time in the world to do the engraving under cover of writing this message. The third method is that I, instead of having the blank sheet, I've printed information on other pieces. It could look like tickets. It could be tickets for theater, or perhaps airline tickets, or perhaps sheets for a Yahtzee game. And next there are questions, and there are boxes that you can check out, and I know the answer for this box. It could be like, are you a man or a woman? That easy kind of questions that I could in forehand have checked out, so that the information I get and I want to engrave, I do it during the time that I pretend to check the boxes. So perhaps I have an airline ticket here, and I ask my spectator, alright, are you a man or a woman? And okay, a woman here. Do you want to take the journey this week or next year? This week, nice. And if I want to have even more time, I can combine this with the previous method. I can say, this would be a nice journey for you, I think. I will write down a little message for you here as well. And then I pretend to write that down. It's already pre-written and then engraved. Then I will turn this over, palm off the medallion and hand out the ticket. And of course there are my contact information, but also the nice message, don't forget your passport on the journey. And I got a nice way to hand out a little gift to the audience, and in a subtle way also hand out my contact information for more bookings. I have already pre-written one word on my pad here, and that's the forcing word, in this case the France. It could be anything, could be a deck of cards, could be a time force or what have you. I use my travel agency deck a lot, and I have countries on these cards, and I will force the France card on the spectator. So they will take the force card, and I will say I will try to get the feeling of where you are in the world, and then I will engrave the information I want to engrave. But for the audience it looks like I'm writing down France here. So when I will reveal this, either I will fold it up or just towing it, I get a feeling of France. The engraving time makes sense to the spectator. It was correct. I was doing what I was told I was doing, but in fact I've already engraved the amulet. This method is very adaptable when you are on stage, and perhaps you want to engrave a name or something like that. Because in a close-up situation, if you want to write down the name of the person, it doesn't really make sense, because everyone around the table probably know each other. So while you're writing down the names, isn't really clear, because we know this guy. But on stage, and you want to write down the name on the person that are on stage, that makes sense, because no one else will know the name and you don't remember. So in that case, you start for calling out perhaps their names, and you write down the first person, the second person, and the third person. And then you go back to the second person, where on the positionation here is the amulet. And then you will say, I will draw a little special for you. It could be a star, it could be a smiley, or perhaps some easy image. And this image you already have pre-written underneath the disc. So I start out with doing this star sign here, put my disc on top, then I will call out the names, ask for the names, write them down, and say, you are a funny guy, I will write a little something for you. And then you engrave the name you want to engrave, turn this over and show the audience that there are the three names and also the star next to the person. And during that time you have the time to very unstressed write and engrave the disc. I think it fits very well to a more artifact, or if you have a cult or a secret society or something like that, that are the theme of the amulet or the keyring. Then you can say that you know that this secret society had a special sign that they have tattooed on their arms. It was like an eye and a triangle. Oh, wait a minute, I will draw it for you. Perhaps you have seen it before. And now I pretend to draw, because I have already drawn that picture, and instead I engrave the information I want. And then I palm off and show the audience. You see, have you seen this picture before? Have you seen this drawing? And whatever they answer, you have still make an informative instruction for them, and you have engraved the amulet during that time. The first thing that people will think about is a prediction. And of course this is an effect that you can do. It's a well-known method. I think that sometimes a prediction is that strong that most mentalists don't really like a prediction. Magicians used to use predictions even more now, because you don't need to build the story behind why you are knowing this if you are a magician. So it's easier to just say, I have an envelope here with something, and then you do a magic trick, and then you reveal the prediction. When I've talked to mentalists, they tend to say that not really like the prediction idea, because of it's sometimes so strong and I don't like this. And I think that if you are doing a prediction as a mentalist, you need to build this story with so that you in your story can also explain how you have this incredible gift. Because for real, if you can make a prediction, you could prevent people from being harmed. You can do so much things if you can predict the future. And that's why it's so strong routine. And I think when you're doing this, if you're a magician and using it as prediction, there is no conflict at all. If you're a mentalist, perhaps you like the idea, but I think you should build the story around the prediction. I think there is a difference in between a prediction and a precognition. There is also another part of this, that if it is a prediction inside this amulet, is it you that have made that prediction, or is it someone else? If it is a precognition, you could have engraved that because of your feeling, something that you think will be of significant meaning someday. If you just wear this, like the amulet around your neck, it's not clear that this is the prediction. During the act, if you are doing a tarot card reading, if you are using it as a pendulum or anything, you gain the information that makes sense. This makes sense to me now. You see, on the back of this amulet, I have engraved this. There must be a connection. And now it's not a prediction, it's the precognition, the feeling that something is going on here. And I think that this could create this really strong effect, and the feeling for the spectator that this is for real, this is really happening. Another way is to use metal writing as a kicker in the end of the routine. Perhaps you are using doing another routine around which you have forced some information or something, and when you reveal forced information, then you have the reaction of the spectator, and then you can say, well, it's one thing more, and then you turn the amulet over, and then you have the engraving there. And that used to be a really strong kicker at the end of the routine. It's not really the promise of a prediction in the beginning. It's not really a precognition, it's a killing kicker that no one really can explain. The same is with the amulet. If you use perhaps the more strange objects, the Cthulhu or Vlad Tepes, Dracula, one of those strange motifs, then you could build a story that perhaps are more bizarre in its way, and it's not a mental effect, but it's storytelling, and it's a magic appearing, it's a miracle, and the experience for the audience is a magical experience of a beautiful story or anything. Yet another magic effect is to have an appearing engraving on the amulet. This can be done in the hands of the spectator or in your own hand, depending on the presentation. For an example, you can have the amulet in full view if you want the whole time, and then you use the second method to load the disc, and no one knows that there is something on the back. So then you place the amulet in their hand, and you can say, feel that move, open your hand, bam, you see there is an engraving in the amulet. You can also make this magic appearance more strong by using the method of suggestions, where you can make the spectator feel that the engraving is done in their hand, using the methods that we use when you're doing a fork bend or something similar in the hand of the spectator. Another way to build the suspense and make this effect really strong is to use a smoke device. You can have the amulet and say, now I will just do like this, and bam, there you have the magic happening in their hand or in the view, and they can see the engraving. And it's a very strong revelation for the engraved surface. In Engraved you have the booklet, you have this DVD and the pictures and all the items, the keyrings and stuff. And I think that you should combine them and making up routines. At first you can look in the booklet. There are a few finished routines that using different handlings, and some of them are quite easy. You can probably with just a few hours practice pull that routine off. Some of them takes more time, perhaps you have to develop the skills and everything, and then you can do this. And that's a good way to start to learn to do the metal writing and to sell this effect. Then there are also a lot of just plots, ideas for the pictures and what you can do, and I don't necessarily think that I have to provide you with a whole script, because that's what I want you to do yourself, to make up your own story. Then you have a piece of wonderful magic that you have created with the tools, and I hope that this is a way for you to be very creative. When I have sent this out for my friends around the world, that they are reacting with new ideas. And I got so many brilliant ideas from all my friends. From Luca Volpe in Italy, I have lots of good ideas from him. You can use it as a pendulum. If it's a hypnotic story, perhaps you can hypnotize them, and then you could have the information revealed during that hypnosis on the back as an amulet. A brilliant idea, of course. Another friend of mine, Peter Turner, he had a story which is amazing, with a time capsule that you are having this, you're digging it down in the ground, and for 2,000 years people will understand how we are thinking. And he also have a nice idea of how to get the feeling for the audience that he are giving this away, because the instruction is to dig it down as a time box. That's another idea that I haven't thought about that, and everyone having this are thinking different ideas. I know another friend, Jan Scotland from England, he texted me and said, you know what I am doing? I used the 2 discs. So I take one disc on that side and I take the other disc on the other side. Don't mind the picture. And now I'm doing a pendulum routine. Alright, how are you thinking that? Yeah, now I have 2 predictions. So I can, on the pad, I can attach both of them. So I stick silvery tape inside here, so people think that there are the discs. I do the routine, then I could add on the first prediction or the precognition, and then I could take the other one. Bomb. I had 2 sides, and that's I told him that something I have never thought about, but of course you can do that, and that is what I really like with it. There's so much ideas that you can combine into this method. In the jewelry kit there are 3 chains with different aspects. This one, the first one here, is a golden magnetic chain, which have basically the same aspects as the magnetic chain that you get in the original package. Then you have two unmagnetic chains, one silver and one gold. There is also one set of magnetic locks that are attached to one of the chains. In this way you can have the chain and put it around your neck or a spectator's neck and very easy take it on and off. And you also get a few rings that are unmagnetic to use together with this chain. There are different ways to use the extra chains. The first golden magnetic chain is just an extra to match the color of the amulet. Perhaps you want to have this one instead. Then another way is to attach the non-magnetic ring to the amulet, and in this case I've used the pocket watch picture. Now I will take my non-magnetic chain, put it through the ring. I will have a pocket watch in this case. For the spectators there is no difference in between this pocket watch and a real one. So I can use the routine in the booklet with the time force. And the handling here, I will have the clothed side outwards, and I will clip off the disc, and then I will take this watch in my hand and put it in this hand and add the disc. So the move here is to put the watch in the vest pocket with the cloth outwards. So you can't lift it up like that, but you lift it up like that, transfer it to your other hand and attach the disc. You can also use the non-magnetic chain and the magnetic lock to make a necklace that you could wear around your neck or around a spectator's neck in a very easy way, so you don't have to struggle when pulling this off their head or on their head for that way. The idea behind this is that my friend Peter Turner was playing with this the amulet, and he wanted to have it around his neck with a symbol that represents him, and so he wanted to find a move that made him load the disc in the same motion of putting this off his neck. And the move looks like this. You will take the amulet, which are cloth on that side and the disc on the side, turn it over and place the disc next to the amulet so you can slide it on. Then you will hold this here, go up and pretend to loosen up this the necklace. The audience doesn't know that it's just a magnet, and in this time he will click it so it's attached, then take it apart, let go of the amulet and hold out the chain. So in this move he removes the chain and also add the disc, and once more looks like this. Have the disc in the hand, take the amulet, place it there, go up, drop the amulet, take off the chain, and now the disc are attached to the amulet. I've developed different tools for the engraving, and in the original set you have the pencil with the ballpoint and the tip. But there are different options as well. One option is the Sharpie marker, which has an extra tip that you could just put on this one and take it off. And in this way you have a tool for doing the engraving. You can take the tip in your hands and then write as well. This is quite good for a close-up situation. If you're working on stage, you perhaps like this idea. The tip for the engraving is attached to the cap of the Sharpie. So I just take and place the cap on the back of the Sharpie, and now I have a tool that I can rotate much as like the pencil, but this is not a move that really fits for a close-up situation. The pencil is more understandable because no one can know which side or what on the pencil. And then I also made the whiteboard, and the pad that you have in the original set is a whiteboard pad. So with a whiteboard marker you can as well draw on this one. And if you're doing a parlor show, this might be a better way to get the information out to the audience, because they perhaps won't see the writings with the pencil. And for that reason I have this extra engraving tip as well, that you just place over the other tip, and it's more or less invisible for the audience even in a close-up situation. And the handling for this is like this one. I will attach the amulet to the pad, and then I will take this piece of white blue tack and just take a little dot and add it down in the corner. Now I can attach the tip down there, so it's secured in that way. When it's time for me to do the engraving, I could just attach it to my pencil, and now I can start to engrave with this pencil. But I can also take it off very easy. Write, put it on, take it off, write. So it's a fast way to both write and engrave at the same time. Afterwards I could either place it back here, and it's very easy to conceal because it's so small, or I could just take it away and finger palm it, put it in my pocket, depending on how I want to play it. There is also an option to buy a bigger whiteboard surface, and it's the same option to use the smaller tip, but here you also have the advantage of placing the amulet, see if it is on the right side, on different places on the whiteboard while you're writing. So now you get it more for perhaps a parlor or a stage show. The pouch is another object that could be quite useful. There are 3 secrets sewn inside here. The first one is that there is another amulet, or sort of an amulet, sewn inside. So you can hand it out in the beginning of the show and say, I got something here, and they can touch and feel it, and then you can place it down on the table. Or you can turn it over and put it in their hand, place it in their hand like this. The second secret is that there is a magnet attached in this amulet that make it easy to secretly hide your amulet behind it. And the third secret is the slit that is sewn here. So I can load anything to this bag and pretend to bring it out. So this object made it possible for you to say that I got an amulet here inside, and place it on the table. Then you can do your metal writing, palm the amulet off, take this and say, in this pouch I had an amulet. Here is the amulet. And then you reveal it, thanks to those 3 secrets. This can also be used when you have the keyring or the chain. When people will touch this amulet, they can't tell if there are a chain attached to it, because they can't see any orientation, and they frankly don't know what this is. So you can as well add the chain here, and in this case I use the ferrite magnet attached to the amulet. And now I will load the amulet and the chain out from the bag, and the magnet will stick to this magnet here. And quite honestly, somehow I think that this move is really, really, really cool. Another idea is from my friend Colin MacLeod, who had played along with the amulet and the pouch here. And he came up with this idea that you could use a billet to get some information, and then you tell them that I will place the billet in the bag next to the amulet, and when you place it here, you steal out the billet through the slit. So instead of really placing it in the bag, you just palm it off, place it here, then behind your pad you unfold the billet, read the information, and engrave the information on the amulet. Then you take those two together and feed both of them back to the amulet when you do the reveal. So alright, so inside here we have your billet and we have the amulet, and no one could tell that you know the information beforehand. You can also use this secret principle with magnet as a time misdirective holdout. You, in the beginning of the routine, you let them examine the bag, you place it down on the table, you do your engraving and palm off the amulet. Then you need another object, in this case a deck of cards. So I just take the pouch and attach it, place it down, and then take the deck of cards to do whatever I want here. Now the amulet is already loaded on the pouch, so when it's time for the revealing, I could lift this up, very clear, open it, and take out the amulet, because there could be a heat on your hand if you are doing something and then boom, directly goes. So that's an option. I get a lot of requests for magicians that want me to create special items for them with Metalwriting. Could be anything, could be some bizarre object or perhaps a special box or something that they want to use the Metalwriting principle on. And it tends to become quite expensive if I have to customize and build, which I can do of course. But to fill that gap, I made this one, which I call Attach. And it's an extra product that you can buy when you have bought the Engraved. It has the same size as Engraved, and it works in the same way. You have the disc that you can take away, and then you have the countersink, which this one will fit inside. This is constructed in this way that it's quite flat. You have a self-adhesive tape on the back, and you have a silvery surface in the middle. So I can attached to any object like this one and place it on my stage. And for the audience, for just 1 meter's distance, you can't tell the difference if there are a disc inside or if there are not. So you can have this one in full view all the time, and in meantime during your performance you engrave this disc, and then when it's time to reveal it, you take out the object, load the disc, and now you have the Metalwriting on the objects that have been in view for all time. And this principle you can attach on a box, or perhaps a book if you have one of them. Any object that you can find. Could be some kind of bizarre object or something that you want to expose on your show, or why not, you can attach it to this fellow here. So this journey goes to an end here, and thank you very much for your time and for buying the Engraved, and I hope that you will have a lot of fun with it and play along with it and find your own routines. And if you come up with some new ideas or something, please just write me an email or contact me on Facebook, on everywhere, because I love to hear your thoughts and ideas. And also, if you have perhaps a good experience or something that happened, just tell me. It's amazing to hear from people using the products I made. And perhaps you are interested in other items, the extra material perhaps, or something, a new idea or anything. Just give me a note, a PM or anything, and we can discuss that later on. So thank you very much, and bye.